What up players, it's WARBOSS today up in this mode. Today we're going to do a little product review of the new texture paints by Citadel, and this is in the new paint range. Today we're checking out Astro Granite. There are 6 colors in the texture range, and I thought this one, the gray one, was a nice a nice pretty neutral one that most people can, you know, use and just paint to match whatever they're using, rather than the others which are very specific. So especially for 40k, if you're doing like urban zones. So what is texture paint? Citadel texture paints are designed to provide a swift, effective solution to detailing your bases. Once applied, they can be dry brushed and decorated in a number of ways. I'm reading from the How to Paint Citadel Miniatures book on the texture paint section. So Citadel texture paints contain a mixture of both coarse and fine grit, which, as the paint sets, form a grainy surface ready for further detailing. And it says that they dry surprisingly quickly, enabling you to carry on in an hour or so. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to paint, we're going to apply some of this onto a model, the base of a model, let it set for an hour, and we're just going to, I'm going to show you how it looks and how it works and what I think of it. So I've got a junky brush here, one of my older brushes, but a big one. So something that I won't miss if the texture paint gets too mucks it up at all. And the minute you open it, you can see from the container that it's almost like completely solid. Like you turn it over, it doesn't come out or anything. It's like stuck in there. So let's try it out. Okay, the paint goes in, or the brush goes in, and it comes off easily enough, so there's some kind of liquidy thing in there. And we're just going to paint it onto our Imperial Guard guy. I'm going to leave some of it in clumps to simulate like different amounts of, you know, the different ground, the area, raised areas, what am I trying to say? Different raised areas of the ground that the guy's walking on. So I'm not going to paint it on evenly like you would with a regular paint. I'm just going to kind of slap it on. It says you let it dry in an hour, and then you dry brush and wash it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to let it dry for an hour, and I'm going to show you what it looks like after an hour and how it's dried. So as you can kind of see, it's kind of uneven. I didn't want to paint it on as a, you know, too smoothly. Let me add a little bit more just for contrast elsewhere on the base. Make little mountains of grit in different areas. So in the application, it goes on surprisingly well. I thought it would be a lot harder to get it off the brush, but as you saw, it painted onto the base pretty well. So I'm gonna let it sit here for an hour. It's about noon, so at about 1 o'clock I'll come back, show you what it looks like, and let you know what my final thoughts are. So this is what our Astro Granite looks like after an hour. Let's see if we can zoom. It's hardened and doesn't really chip away. It looks just like, you know, regular basing material after it's been allowed to dry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a little wash of Bad Black, a highlight of gray, and then I'm going to cover the rim, and by then it should look just like how a normal based up model would look like. And we'll see how it compares to other based models. So the washes go right into it really nicely. The painting guide says to use known oil, but that's pretty much just Bad Black, so I'm just going to use that. I'm going to let this dry, then I'm going to use Fortress Gray to highlight it, and then I'll come back and show you what the finished, fully painted base looks like. Okay, so after a little bit of Space Wolves Gray, this is what our finished base kind of looks like. The Space Wolves Gray, I decided to go with Space Wolves Gray because it has a little bit more color to it. It's got that light blue tint rather than Fortress Gray. Really picks up the basing, that coarse and fine grit there. And but as you can tell from the level, it doesn't really pop up rather than, you know, this. Like if you decide to use, actual sand, and like this has some slate material on this Skaven base, actually gives it more height. Or let me show you a Kaos Warrior here. It's got some stuff on it. You see the difference between one side and the other. Actually looks more of a battlefield, where this one could pass off maybe as like a highway, or something like a road, like just like a flat surface area that has some debris on it. Doesn't really look like a battlefield though, so it really depends on what you want. If you're just painting a whole batch of models and you don't want to glue and wait for the glue to dry and all that stuff for your base, then this is definitely a good alternative to that. So what are my final thoughts on the texture paint? I think that it's a fun little new way of doing basing. It's meant only for basing, really, at this point. I can't think off the top of my head other reasons why you would use it. Maybe you could put it on, I'm thinking maybe you could put it on some undead models, or some models that look like they were underground and have come up, and put it on their shoulders or their armor or their heads and make it look like rust, really bad rust, or earth, or you know, stuff like that is on your models, your undead models. You could also possibly use it as paint, or as a snow for your painted models, possibly if you color it up white, as opposed to modeling snow. I don't know, I can't really think though. You'd have to be really creative to use it other than basing material. And as a basing material, I think I only used a little bit, but depending on how much models you have, if you've got a very horde kind of army with lots and lots of troops on it, one might not be enough. But it's definitely fast, it sets fast. After you're done painting your models, you just slap this on the base, it sets fast. And then if you decide to use modeling grass as well, and paint it up like that, then that could certainly be an alternative. So my question to you is, what do you think of it? Have you purchased it yet? And if so, what do you think of it? Or if you haven't purchased it yet, is this review, was this worth it for you? Was there anything else you would have liked me to see or explain? Put that in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. So thanks for watching this WARBOSS product review, and we'll see you in the next video.